My name is Robin Dreyer, originally from Portland. Lived most of my life in Beaverton, Oregon. Played pool most of my life. Retired about 30 years ago from playing any competitive pool and been teaching ever since. First got introduced to pool from my grandfather. My grandmother and grandfather used to babysit me on the weekends, and there wasn't anything to do at the retirement home except take me to the rec center, so we played a little pool, and my grandfather was a fair pool player, so he taught me how to play and taught me a lot about the discipline of the game. My relatives all died at a very early age, and so I was out on my own. To keep myself in school, I tried to do a little, yard work and car washing and all the stuff that kids can do for work, but that didn't help me pay rent, and so I played pool at night, and usually for 25 cents or 50 cents a game or something like that, and that paid a lot better than yard work, especially with minimum wage being 75 cents an hour. It just was economic. It was never a choice that, yes, this is what I want to do. It was just how it ended up. It was more of a, well, this is where the money is, so that's where I'm going to be. When I played, there was really no information available. I mean, most people that played back when I did, the book that they would look at would be Willie Mosconi's first book, his little red book, Winning Pocket Billiards. And it helped me. That was a book that I actually based my foundation on for stance and stroke and things like that. But there really was no teaching, especially here in Oregon. There was just zero. So you basically learn by playing better players and matching up. And played a ton of pool at Hunt and Fish. Started playing there, I think, 1980, and finished up about 1986 or 7, something like that. That was just one of many places that I played. I played all over the Northwest, basically. Kind of roamed around quite a bit. But the Hunt and Fish was the easiest place to find a game at any given time on any given day. Playing for 12 hours or 16 hours was not unusual. Right. You can only do that when you're young. I mean, that is not an old man's game. Back then it was all winter break. You see these people run a string of racks, it's pretty exciting. Today there's a lot of alternating break, and so you never get any strings together, There were a lot of marathon players back in the day. It was kind of common. That's how people played. You match up and you played and got in the ring, you didn't go 1 round, you went 12. Today, the way that people match up, it's not battle. It's handshake. I mean, it's just not the same thing. That's why the Filipinos are so tough, man. They grow up doing battle all the time, all day. It's not this, one set and we adjust the score, adjust the spot. Jeez, In most sports, you go get a coach, or you want to learn the piano, you go get a piano teacher or whatever. But in pool, you just start banging balls around a pool table, and then eventually you say, oh, I really kind of like doing this. This is fun. So you take it a little more serious. By that time, you've already got so much muscle memory established that when you go to a coach, they got to undo all that to get your foundation correct. So they got to break you down before they build you back up again. In general, we don't have an organized way for younger people to be playing pool. Leagues are all for 21 and older. Everywhere except here, like even Russia, the kids are starting real young, and they're organized. They go in and they have a coach that teaches them, and they take it real serious. It's not goof around and bang balls around with your side of your cue, or, a good example is the Billiard Brothers from Russia. I mean, those guys are young, and look how good they play. Well, guess what? They didn't start yesterday. Whereas those guys would be barely even hitting a ball in America because you would have got exposed to it at 21. We have to get our players playing in a serious, organized, structured manner at early ages, at least junior high. I don't say grade school, but junior high. 12 years old and above is a good age to start. You're physically able to handle it. And it has to be not just male dominant, it has to be female and male, open to both. And they need to be comfortable. So if you've got a room that's got 10 male kids and 1 girl, that's not going to work because they're going to be too intimidated. It has to be something where you promote the women to get involved in it early so that when they're joining a class, you got a 60-40, 50-50, something like that, where they're all comfortable. Not just 1 girl that plays, and the rest of them are all guys, The typical conservative household has a negative taste for pool. They say, oh my God, you're not going to the pool hall, or you're not going to the bar to play pool. They wouldn't want their daughter doing that, or their cherished son, But going to a golf course? Oh yeah. Or a tennis court? No problem. Every snooker club has a coach, and you go in there and you learn how to play before they even let you on the table. So it's a completely different culture. And the potential for making $1 million a year in snooker is great. You don't have to be number one to do that. A pretty good average pro, they can make a very good living. They don't have to be the best, but they have to be just a good average pro. And here, you have to be in the top 5 if you're going to get any money back. You know, it's basically the Wild West. We're great gunslingers. You know, we make balls, but the rest of our skills are fairly weak. And we just don't train. We don't have an environment where training is the main goal. It's go out and play, have a few beers, and see what happens. And so out of those thousands of people that do that, you get a few, you know, that come to the top. They have natural gifts and they might become much better players. But basically, we're just really good bar players. You know, that's really what it boils down to. You take these Europeans, the Asians, the Russians, and it's a completely different game they're playing. We get beat pretty badly. And it's going to continue. It's never going to change. We can throw all the Billy Thorpes and Shanes you want to at them, and it's not going to make any difference. You know, you've got to train. And you've got to train the mental side as well as the physical side. So many people spend all their time on the physical side, but they don't do anything for their mind. And it's really important to train on all those aspects. Otherwise, you're just never going to make it. You're going to be an average pool player for the rest of your life. If there's one thing I'd like to see this country change on, it's how it approaches the game, how it thinks about the game. We have to set that bar very high. You know, the APA is great. You know, it gets a lot of people playing. But it's actually based on a very casual social environment. The BCA is a bit more serious, but do they have a certified BCA instructor coming to the big tournaments and stuff and giving clinics? They should be doing that all the time, and it should be free to the BCA players. What about the guys that go out to and out? Well, they paid to go all the way there and do all their stuff and paid for the hotel. At least they could have a clinic while they're there. You know, some guy that's a BCA certified instructor and goes in there and gives some clinics. We have to get more academies, more pool schools, and more people handing down the knowledge that they have for this sport to expand. It shouldn't take, you know, 10 to 20 years to learn it. Well, I think that gambling of some sort is important for players that want to be good under pressure. They don't have to gamble for money, but they have to gamble for something that they don't want to do. Whether it be push-ups or wash a car or do dishes or whatever. Anytime that you really don't want to lose because you're not going to like what you have to give up because you lost, that's the kind of pressure you need to be under if you're ever going to compete well. Because what happens is everybody plays their local tournament, they know everybody's name and they're having a good time and they're drinking their beers, and then all of a sudden they go to a big event at the coast and they can't handle it. They go out to and out, and they don't understand why they played so bad. And it's like, that's because there's a lot more pressure, and they're not used to that kind of pressure. Yeah. So you've got to put yourself under pressure during the year that's similar to the pressure that you're trying to build up for the coast, or whatever big event you might be going to. Maybe you want to go to Derby City or whatever. Well, then you should be playing some bigger tournaments during the year. Tournaments where you actually have to travel to get to them. Yeah. So you're putting yourself up in a hotel, you're putting some money behind this whole thing, and if you dog it out real quick, you just spend a lot of money for nothing. Yeah. Well, that's exactly the pressure you need to be under if you're going to really want to compete. Getting together with your buddies and have a few beers and playing some pool is not the same thing. I don't enjoy playing much anymore, but I enjoy teaching more than ever. That is where I put all my energy and my effort. Playing-wise, it's a downhill slope for me, so it's never going to go up because I don't compete. I never will compete again, and so there's no real incentive. And I think that's a real important thing with pool players in general. They have to have a goal. You know, it doesn't matter what that goal is. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be number one or anything like that. You just have to say, well, I want to beat Joe, you know, or I want to beat my friend Frank, you know. Well, great, you know. And then when that goal's done, you have to get another one, you know. People will not train because training's hard, it's miserable, it takes a lot of time, if they don't have an incentive to do it. So many of these players are in dead stroke with this. They're in dead punch there, man. You know, so you can see where their energy's all focused, you know.